Hi everyone. First of all, thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk on one of the topic with on React, which is Zustand. So today we'll discuss a bit about how what is Zustand and how do we use Zustand in React, and also we'll go through a few of the code snippets and why should you be using Zustand for your next project. So let's look into those details. So, as already introduced, my name is Sadanand Pai. I'm working as a front-end developer from almost 4 years of experience now. So, totally, I have around 10 years of experience. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn and also follow me on GitHub. So, we'll discuss about first what is state management, and then we'll get into the depth of what is Zustand and how can we build some application using Zustand. And also, we'll see how easy it is and why is that Zustand is today's topic. So coming to the state management part, guys. So if you know what is state management in React or in any front-end framework, you require the state to be managed even with the state management library or without it. Could be any case, but you would require a state. So what basically state is that the data what you use in the front end, you store it in some place. Earlier application, what used to happen is that you keep all the state in the server, and every time you make a request, a new page is requested and data used to come along with the HTML. But nowadays everything is single page application. You have to maintain, manage, manipulate everything, even including DOM and all the stuffs you do in the front end using JavaScript. Even to manipulate your HTML, CSS, everything, you do it with JavaScript. So let's discuss a few of the popular libraries available out there. And there is nothing like this is the best library for state management which you should be going, or this is not the good one. But there are few popular and good libraries which have got the recognition, and you might be picking those for your project, may be it personal or professional. Hope there is no lag from my side. The clarity is there. Going into the part of the popular libraries, we have Redux, which everybody knows, and then the Redux toolkit, which is kind of a wrapper, we can say, which makes the things easier working with Redux. And then few other popular libraries like MobX, Redux Saga, Rematch, Recoil, and the inbuilt API provided by React, that is React Context. So moving further, so why did we pick Zustand today, or why am I talking about Zustand? So let's get few clarity. So whenever you are building a website or web application which has front end, be it front end heavy or front end light, you may think of going for a state management, or you may not be requiring it. So let's say you are building a simple web application which has a simple page to display a counter application. Let's take that example. Now, in this case, you may not require a state management because it's very simple that you can just handle it with few variables inside the components or inside a single module of the JavaScript. So even in that case, Zustand can be helpful for you. The reason being it is very simple to integrate and easy to get started. It has a very low boilerplate in the sense in the future slides we will discuss about that what is a boilerplate to create a simple application. So in that we will see how simple it is to get started with Zustand, and it works well with the functional components. As of now, everybody is going to use functional components, which we are already know, and the class-based components are there in only in the old legacy projects. But it is good to have the knowledge of those. But we generally go for only functional components due to their advantages. And picking the Zustand with functional components, it fits very well. Next point about the Redux like pattern, but simplified. So what it means is that Oh, you learn Redux. Generally, whichever course you pick or whichever company you go, even for the interviews, you will be asked on Redux, not on Zustand or something else. So in that case also, the pattern or the architecture, the way it uses the store will be same. So the learning curve for the state management using Zustand will be less for you. We'll discuss more on that point as well. And it has good support for middlewares, and also it is compatible with TypeScript. So some issues where they are in Zustand, and I guess are there in the corner cases with respect to TypeScript. But it should not be a blocker for you to move with the Zustand for your normal to even the complex projects. So let's see few of the things. And before moving on to the coding part, let's talk a bit about how does it look when we are creating a store in Zustand. So if you see, this is a normal store for a counter application. So let's say I'm building a counter application which obviously require a value. Value is nothing but the count, and then we have few actions which will either increment decrement. So as we know that we don't directly go and modify the value, even though it is a variable, normal variable which is a of type number, we don't do that. We always do it with actions. So that is the architecture. If you are able in Redux, we have the action, and then we have the uh, store where the value or the state changes, and this state change immediately will reflect in the components. So that is how it works. And now coming to the same topic, how is it done in Zustand? You have the store, and then these are connected to multiple components, be it one component or hundreds of components. You can connect to as many number of components as possible. And now, whenever the value changes through the actions, that is either you increment or decrement, the value changes, the value will be reflected in all the components. Now, how do you use this value is up to you. So that is how the architecture of Zustand or in any other state management also the similar architecture will be there. So the overview looks something similar, but we'll get into depth. What are the differences? And mainly we'll talk about how is it in Zustand. So even though if you are not aware about other libraries, it is fine for you to get started with the Zustand. So let's talk about a simple store setup done in Redux. So this is a Redux. This uses Redux toolkit, which is again a kind of wrapper on the Redux, React Redux, which makes our life easier. Now coming to this part, if you don't understand most of the things, it's fine. But you just have to know we are setting the name for the slice. Slice is nothing but multiple slices can be connected to make one store. If you are finding it difficult, just leave that. But you can focus on the actions and the state. We have the state, which is the value, and we have few reducers, which will again decide which action to perform depending on the type and the payload. And the payload will be generally used within that action. So if you see here, we have increment and decrement. And similarly, one more action we have increment asynchronous, async. And it is written outside, which acts like a thunk. And again, if you are not aware about thunk, it should not be an issue because we are not going to do this example. We will be making a simple example with Zustand. So if you understand increment async, it will be delayed operation, and again it is dispatching an event to increment the amount by amount or increment, or it can call any function which is present in the reducer. So this is just an example which we have taken, and we are taking this and then exporting and can be used in the all the components. And also you have to wrap your whole React component, the root level component, using a wrapper, which helps this state management to work efficiently, or at least to work. So now coming to the Zustand setup. So forget about all the other stuffs which you have seen, because only if you are comparing those things, then only it will help. Otherwise, if you are starting from the scratch, this is how a simple store looks like. So here, if you see, we have a store called as use counter store. Why we are using use? Because it is a kind of a hook only at the end, which we are using in the each React component. Now, if you are seeing here, we are having a store. We are telling create, which is nothing but the Zustand library function create, and we are setting few things, which is a state. Now, if you see here, value is a state which we have created. And to start with, I have taken very simple example where again uh, the structure is same. We have increment, decrement, and increment async. So now whenever something has to be incremented, you call increment and decrement, and similarly increment and synchronous. And if you see the synchronous and uh, the normal synchronous actions are almost similar, and you don't have to worry too much the way you are doing in any other library. Maybe a few libraries make this simpler like this, but Zustand comes with the complete package for you if you are getting started. So this is one of the example, and to get started, I have mentioned this. So now before moving into the features, let's go and see how does it look in the real code. So let me go to the real code. So this is the state which I have created, that is value, and this is TypeScript based. You need not worry about this interface also if you are not aware. Even in JavaScript, it will be still more simpler. But I am giving a TypeScript example here. So here, if you see, this is the state and these are the actions. I am just defining increment and decrement. Two actions. What it does, it sets the value of the state here, which receives state, that is previous state, and we are incrementing it by one, and when it is decrement, we are decrementing it by 1. So it is that simple. And let's see how does it look in the UI. So if you click on increment, it will increment the value of the state present in the store. So nothing but value got now incremented by 1, and when I click on decrement, this action will follow. And how is it used in the components? So let me go to the component. I have created a display component and the controls. Controls are nothing but increment and decrement. So now if you see here, so I have the increment and decrement used in the controls, and then I have the component. On click, I am calling increment, which is received from the use counter state store. And similarly decrement, on click, I am calling decrement. And these are directly taken from our store. It is as simple as that. You call the store and you take the state. State is a variable which completely gives you the state of that store. And in that, we need increment and decrement. And I have taken it as an array. And similarly, I have destructured it here. And I am using it here. And if you need a value, so for example, to display this value, so let me go to the display. And here, if you see, value is present, which is again taken from state, and I am picking just value. So let's go to the console and let me run this app again. And here, if you see, I'll go to the counters app and click on increment. So you can see display component is rendered. When I click on decrement, again, the display component is nothing but this value. It is getting rendered. And you might be wondering, what is this shallow? So let me comment this out for you. And if I comment this and then try the same operation, what might be happening is that every time you might be seeing decrement, I click, display component is rendered, and even the controls component is rendered, which is not necessary. But when you add a shallow here, what it means is only the state changes which are decrement and increment. Only if that changes, then only you re-render the state. Otherwise, don't do it. So that is how it works. So let me keep it as it is as a shallow. So now if you see with the shallow, you will not see so many re-renders. So this is an optimization which you should be aware of. So now let's go to the other components and let's see what other benefits or other features present in the Zustand. Now here is the details component. Just the name is details, but what I am doing is I am trying to fetch some details via UPI. So let me enter a number here and I enter 5. You can see some value coming. And this is an asynchronous event. So it's very important for us to see how asynchronous events also work. So let me go to the store of the details. And if you see here, I'm making an asynchronous call. So this is nothing but I'm trying to fetch some value from the JSON placeholder. And if I get the value, I'm just sharing it back. If something goes wrong, I'm setting it null. So this is purely an example, and don't consider that this is the way you should be doing. You can use the way, for example, if you are using Axios or React Query, you can do it in the same way. So now coming to the main part here, that is get details. So here the get details is an asynchronous function. And as you know, it should be pure and it should not have side effects and it should immediately return. Those things are there. But here, if you see, I am just writing the direct asynchronous action, which is get details, and awaiting for the details to come. And then I'm using it to set the value directly. That is nothing but this details. So now if you see, whenever I am calling the get details, it will get the details and set the value. And here also you can see a set details, which is synchronous. It just sets the value. So that simple it is. So I just have extracted out the main core fetch details logic here. That's it. But otherwise, it is directly asynchronous function. So now let's see how is it implemented in our component. Again, it is very simple. What I am doing is I am picking a number and on enter, I am just taking that number and passing it to the get details. Detail state, that is nothing but the store. And in that state, I am getting get details. And if something, if that is not a valid number or something, I am setting it to null. So both synchronous, asynchronous events are actions are handled in a super simple way. Let's go to the next example. As you have understood the core logic now, so it won't be difficult for you to understand further. It will be very simple. That if we consider one more state or store which I have created, that is for query params. So what is happening here, as if you see, it is a complicated state. It's not that complicated, but for example purpose, I have kept it very simple. But still, it is not the direct state. You have an object, and inside the object, you have the key and value pair. So now, if you see, there is a update query param, which you are calling. So when you are calling update query param, you are directly modifying the value within the object. It is not that you are spreading that object and then setting the value. So you don't have to worry about that. And this is achieved by immer. It is not the functionality of Zustand. But the main point to see here is that how Zustand supports it in a simple way. This is produce, which is coming from the immer, which makes it completely immutable. And you modify something which is a nested level, that is state.query params. In that you are modifying a key, and now when I click on JavaScript, you can see that key is modified, even though I am not spreading and doing it in that way. So similarly, you can see I am doing the nested level changes in a simple way. So even that can be done in a super simple way. Next example would be a chat application, where I'll be showing you how the chat application works with the middlewares. So the main concept here is about the middlewares. So here if you see, I have devtools and persist, two middlewares. So this is how you insert the middlewares into your store. So you add devtools and persist, both are middlewares, one on top of other, to support devtools and store this value in the local storage or session storage, and in that way you retrieve the value. So let me type something here and hit enter, and let me refresh this page. And if you see here again, this high is persisted. This is happening because of the middleware. And if you see here, all the chat messages are stored in your local storage with the help of the middleware. And you can create your own middlewares, but we are not going into that depth for this discussion. And similarly, it supports the devtools, which you like most in our Redux, correct? So if you see, if I am doing something, it is connected to that, and you can see all the changes happening through our Redux middleware. So this is just to see how our Zustand is supporting all the different stuff. And the last item which I want to show you is how it works outside the component. In React, sometimes maybe you require to make some calls or some state access outside the component. So even in that case, this is a simple store where I am putting just a value, nothing much is there. So now the point is, how do we access it outside? So when you are accessing it outside, if you see on click of the generate random number, I am making a call which to a function which is outside. And outside the component also, you can access it in a simple way. So you can call the store, and then there are two exposed functions names, which are set state and get state. So whenever you want to set the state, automatically you can set the state. And in the similar way, even here, I am making the get state call, if you can see here. So again, I am not using the hook way as expected to be used. But why am I using this is to show, but we can go for the normal hook. But even this works outside the component also. And if I click on the generate random number, you can see no update. Let me refresh the component. You can see the random number generated shown. So that is 82. And here also you can see something is getting console. Nowhere you can see the console log, but at line number 11, there is a console log. What I'm doing is I'm subscribing to the store. Whenever some value changes in the store, so the value can be subscribed. And there is a middleware also for that to subscribe only the value which you are worried about. So here whole state is subscribed, but you can do it conditionally. So that is the beauty of Zustand. So I just have covered all the different examples, and this is available on my GitHub as well. So let's go to the slides part, as we have covered different stuffs. So these are the features which I have listed and which you might be using most of the times, 80% of the times in your projects and features. So that is one is shallow, which we have already seen. Then the asynchronous actions, and we have Redux like reducers and action types, middlewares, the dev tools, and mechanism to subscribe and update the state. So these same examples I have taken and just added it in my slides. And you can read more on their official Zustand docs, and also the Zustand documentation site is present. And if you want to see this repo with the examples, you can go to my repo, and also it is hosted, which is the below link. You can see it live. And again, once again, thank you for giving me the opportunity. Hope you have learned something new. Thank you.